In this exercise, I'm going to show you how to assign colors to paths inside of your illustration, both from the swatches panel and using the eyedropper tool. I've gone ahead and saved my progress as allswatches.ai found inside the 07 Fill Stroke folder. I'm looking at the zoomed in view into my illustration, but I don't want to be quite that zoomed in, so I'm going to zoom out just a little bit like so. And this time around, we're going to fill all of these concentric rings going up to, but not including, this final green ring. So in other words, the big green circle, that's filled with green. All the circles inside of it have no fills. Their fills are set to none, that is, and we're going to remedy that in this exercise. So using the black arrow tool, I want you to click on the innermost circle, this guy with the gray stroke. Then I'll go to the color panel, and I'll just confirm that fill is my active attribute, which it is. Now I'll switch over to the swatches panel, and I'm going to assign imported beetle to that fill. So when you click on a swatch, you assign it to the active attribute of the selected object. All right, now I'm going to click on the next circle out like so, and I'm going to assign it the next swatch, which is the rich dirt. Now notice that goes ahead and covers up our previous circle because apparently the previous circle is lower in the stack, and that's something that I need to adjust. That's something you're going to run into a lot as you fill and stroke objects inside of Illustrator. You have to continually compensate for stacking order, and I'll show you one way to remedy that at the end of this exercise. But for now, let's keep filling those circles. Now I happen to know the next circle outward is located immediately behind the selected one, so I'll go to the Select menu and I'll choose Next Object below, or I could press that keyboard shortcut Control-Alt left bracket, Command-Option left bracket on the Mac. That selects the next circle. Then I will assign Earth Red to that circle like so. All right, now I want to select the next circle outward. Again, that's the next circle down the stack, so I'll go up to the Select menu and choose Next Object below again, or press Control-Alt left bracket, Command-Option left bracket on the Mac. I want to assign Stone Violet, so it'd be a simple matter just to click on the swatch in the swatches panel. But I want to take a moment to show you a way to do this using the eyedropper tool instead. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on my illustration quite a bit, and we'll see that Stone Violet is assigned to the stroke of this path right there. Notice the one that I'm tracing along. So I want to lift that color and assign it to the fill of the selected object. And that is something I can do with the eyedropper. So grab the eyedropper tool, or press the I key if you prefer, and then go ahead and click on that stroke. Now, as soon as you do, you're going to lift both the fill and stroke attributes. Notice that you apply Stone Violet to the stroke, and you assign this guy right there, which has a generic name of C0, M10, Y25, K25, to the fill. That's not what I want to do, but that's great that the eyedropper works that way. So by default, it's grabbing both the fill and stroke attributes and applying them in sequence to the selected object. However, what if you want to take a stroke or any other color that you see inside of Illustrator and assign it to the active attribute of the selected object? Why then, I'll press Ctrl-Z, Command-Z on the Mac, and use Shift-Click using the eyedropper. So press the Shift key, click on that violet stroke, and you will assign that stroke color, Stone Violet, to the fill of the selected object. And you can see now that sure enough, Stone Violet is assigned from the swatches panel. All right, so those are a couple of ways to assign colors using the eyedropper. You can lift those colors from other objects, assign them to the selected object. Another thing you can do is you can use the eyedropper to metaphorically squirt colors into a deselected object. Let me show you how that works. I'll press Control-Shift-A or Command-Shift-A on the Mac to deselect all of the objects inside the illustration. Then I'm going to press the D key in order to establish the default colors, which are white for the fill, black for the stroke, and the stroke is 1 point thick. Now I'll go back to my swatches panel. The fill is still active, and I'm going to click on this guy, Faded Blanket, in order to make it the active fill. So I now have a fill of Faded Blanket, a stroke of black, and it's 1 point thick. I'm going to apply exactly those attributes to the next circle out by pressing and holding the Alt key, which goes ahead and flips my eyedropper, as you can see. That's the Option key on the Mac, and then I want you to click the tip of that eyedropper on the object itself, like so, and you will go ahead and fill and stroke that object at the same time. All right. Couple of other things you can do. You can drag and drop swatches from the swatches panel if you like. And again, just as with Alt or Option clicking with the eyedropper, the paths themselves don't have to be active. So I'm going to press the V key to switch back to the black arrow tool. And I'm going to grab this guy right there, native skin, and I'm going to drag that swatch and I'm going to drop it not inside the path, because remember that I have to click on a path outline in order to select it, and that affects the behavior of dragging and dropping with swatches as well. So I want to drop it right there on the path outline. Drop it into place, and I go ahead and assign that color. All right, what if by some circumstance stroke is active instead of fill? The wrong attribute is active. Well, I'll show you. I'll go over to the color panel, and just so you can see it happen, I'll press the X key, and now the stroke is active, the fill is not. Let's switch back to the swatches panel. If I were to grab the very next swatch, which is this guy, Imported Cocoa, and I was to drag and drop it onto the next circle out, then I would change the stroke. That's not what I want, so I'll go ahead and press Control-Z, Command-Z on the Mac to undo that modification. This time, I'll drag that exact same swatch out to that exact same position, and I'll press and hold the Shift key and drop the color, and that affects the inactive attribute rather than the active attribute. And those are the various ways to assign colors both from the swatches panel and using the eyedropper here inside Illustrator.